Welcome to the Alcohol Free Life podcast, brought to you by thesoberclub.com. I'm Janey Grace. This is for you if you've quit the booze or you'd like to, or maybe you're just sober curious. I'll bring you tips and motivation without any judgment, and there'll be inspiration from experts, quit-lit authors, and sober heroes. Hi and welcome to the podcast. If you happen to be anywhere near Wincanton, then I'm going to be speaking there tonight. So check out, some of the stuff on my social media. I'm doing an event with Lynn Frank. Some of you may know Lynn. She's my very dear friend at the Seed Hub in Wincanton. So if you happen to be around, then do please check that out and come and join us for that event. After last week's podcast, got some quite interesting responses actually, because I spoke a bit about how I had a Sober Club member who'd shared her thinking that, she was planning her next drink, even though she'd been sober for 150 days. And it was a really interesting response. And I think it hit a little bit of a nerve, because I think so many people, when they first do this thing of ditching the booze, they can't quite let go of that glamour piece around alcohol. And I know I was the same for so many years. I went around the block so many times. That was the piece that held me back, the way alcohol is glamorized. And if you think about it, with the adverts that we see in our, obviously in our society, alcohol is absolutely everywhere. And all the adverts we see are people, holding a glass or just reaching to have that first glass, all that lovely glamour when they're all dressed up and they look great. The ads are never at the end of the night, right? You never get any ads that actually show you the result of consuming their product, because then it wouldn't sell, right? But we just get brainwashed. For so many years we've all been brainwashed about alcohol. It's incredulous to me now. I think back just how brainwashed I was. I genuinely thought it was good for me. I genuinely thought it was my self-care. If you'd said the word self-care to me back then, that was like, oh, don't faff about with, going for a walk in nature or having a lovely, tea ceremony or whatever, or doing something nice. Just get me round the wine bar, and give me my chilled Sauvignon, for God's sake. And I think, how small was my world? It really scares me when I think back. I cannot begin to tell you how grateful I am that I'm free from that. It is such freedom to be literally free from those shackles of addiction, just literally free. I no longer have to consider, wouldn't it be nice to have to? No, I goddamn well know it would not be nice. Yes, of course, as an adult, I love sitting in the sunshine. I love meeting friends. I love, even sometimes pubs and bars and restaurants and whatever. And of course I love doing that. And of course I love a nice glass, the same as the next guy. But you know what? I'll choose to have something alcohol-free in it, thank you very much. I absolutely don't need toxic liquid in my glass. And, again, I had a client in the week who was saying that it's that same old thing, that nervousness around going to an event where other people that have known you for years are going to be drinking, and that whole thing of, how are they going to feel if I'm not drinking? And this is where we really have to touch base with ourselves. If you know that you're a people pleaser, prep ahead, because you cannot be in a situation where you find yourself drinking to please someone else, because it might make them feel better about their drinking, which is not doing them any good either. So prep ahead. My top tip, you've heard me say it before, give your friends a heads up. You can lie if you want, or you can tell the truth. Who cares? But give them a heads up and tell them that they don't have to worry about you. Say to them, I'm not drinking because whatever, but you don't have to worry about me. I've got this great kombucha, or I've found this great alcohol-free beer that I love, so you don't have to worry about me. And, I look forward to seeing you at the weekend or whatever it is. Give them a heads up, because then it's not quite such a shock to the system. But ultimately, you're doing this for you. You can't possibly be thinking of putting something in your mouth because someone else is putting it in theirs. It's actually bonkers. It really is. So anyways, if you've got that fading effect bias going on that I mentioned last week, just challenge your own thoughts. It's brilliant when you realise, I am separate from my thoughts. I can have a look at that. I can write that thought down. I can challenge it. I can ask, is it true? Is it actually true, that thought? or is it nonsense? Is it absolute BS? Is it a line that I've been sold for years and years and years by marketing agencies who, of course, they want to sell alcohol. Why would they not, right? But it's absolute BS, it really is. Anyways, today's guest is a little bit different because, we sometimes have sponsors on the podcast. And you know that I love doing well-being stuff. Of course I do. I love sharing other aspects of things that are part of my life, apart from, just, in inverted commas, not drinking. Most of you know I have my website, imperfectlynatural.com, where I recommend natural products. And I have my Platinum Awards, where I talk about literally everything from natural skincare and beauty through to cleaning your home without chemicals, through to sustainable clothing, through to supplements and vitamins and all the rest of it. And of course, that's the amusing piece, isn't it? I've been doing that for years, even though I was stepping around the huge great elephant in the room that was that was alcohol. Anyways, because of that work, I came across this great brand who I wanted to feature on the podcast. But then I realised, you know what? The founder of this brand's got a really interesting story. So, I thought, I'm going to share it with you. So I'm really pleased that today my guest is Sonal Keay, and I connected with Sonal, some time ago now, because she has this wonderful, wonderful, incredible brand that we're going to tell you all about. But, I figured, well, rather than just sort of telling you and doing an ad for Sonal's lovely products, let's have a conversation, because as is so often the case when people have wonderful well-being brands, they've often got a bit of a story themselves. So welcome, Sonal.
Hi, Janey. Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
Oh, fantastic. So your brand is This Is Silk. So we're going to talk a bit more about that later, and the ins and outs of silk and the beautiful products that you have. But take me back and tell me a little bit about your story, because there's a kind of reason why you started the brand in the first place. And as I say, as with so many people who have well-being brands, there's actually, when you dig back, there's often a bit of a story there.
Yeah. So it's quite an unusual story, I suppose, in many ways. So for many years, I was a criminal barrister, something completely different to running a business. But I suppose it started when I was about, well, it depends how far you go back, but when I was about 17 or 18, I was diagnosed with a really rare skin condition. So I'm of Indian origin. My skin is rich in melanin, so it's very unusual for anyone to be allergic to daylight, let alone someone with increased melanin.
Oh,
so
wow. Allergic to daylight. My goodness.
I know, it's quite crazy. It just suddenly happened. I had a really normal life, up until about 17 or so, and then suddenly just started reacting very badly. Skin was in rashes. I was in a lot of pain, and no one suspected that someone of Indian origin would be allergic. So it took a long time to get diagnosed and a lot of tests.
Right.
And there's no history of it in the family. So, we were completely floored by the diagnosis. And then it was a journey to get used to it, with some real low points, I suppose. And then, fast forward to today, and I'm fine. I'm managing it, and I've created something out of it. So,
so just tell me a bit more about it then. So, what if you're allergic to daylight? What can you do? Presumably you can't just become completely goth and never go out.
I do have sympathies with goth culture, but no, it's not for me. When I was younger, basically the only way to deal with it is to wear really, really, really high SPF every single day.
Right. Okay.
I do have to modify my lifestyle. I've always had to do that since it developed. So, on a very practical basis, I can't go outside at all.
Wow.
Without wearing, a pretty thick and intact layer of SPF. I can't sit near a window that hasn't been coated in film without an SPF. It's bonkers. And actually, I know it sounds a bit strange, but it's quite hard for me to talk about it because it's such an elementary thing, isn't it?
It really is. Because also it's not even just, we get so much sort of joy from actually feeling the sun on our skin. So that must be very difficult for you.
It was. I suppose I try not to think about it too much because the sun is life. So it's a bit of a there's a sort of psychological issue there, isn't there? Why can't I cope with the very thing that gives us all life? But it's just something in my DNA changed. There are suspected causes in particular. And I think, I cope with it, right? So
yeah. And how do you get enough vitamin D then?
Always supplementation. I take.
So that's a tough one, isn't it, as well?
Yes. Yeah. So I think I'd probably be in a bit of a mess without it. But, I do think it is. I went through a dark patch. No pun intended. But when I was younger, because they warned that the condition is associated with, high rates of depression and suicide.
Yeah.
And I can't remember exactly how old I was, but I do remember reading poor Hannah Laura Kohl, the ex-wife of the ex-German Chancellor Helmut Kohl. She committed suicide and she suffered with late onset extreme photosensitivity. So, I always knew that I had to be on guard for this. And I think I just, I had to deal with it at such an early and formative age. And in a weird way, I think it's really helped because, you can feel sort of negative thoughts creeping in, and they've just got to be nipped in the bud.
Yes, absolutely. So what do you think this kind of taught you then about resilience? I mean, I'm guessing, because that is what you are, you're obviously incredibly resilient.
I mean, it took a while, right? I reached a low point when I was young. And in fact, the low point was when, because on the very rare occasions that I am still burnt, and I'm so careful nowadays, because if I do get burnt, it's not like a normal burn. It's a severe allergic reaction. And I have to stay in a darkened room for about 4 or 5 days. Just can't leave. And it is quite unusual. And you have to. I sort of develop a weird fear of light for a while. It's almost like I need to reset my mind. I think, I will be safe. It is fine to go back out again, but it always just takes that adjustment.
Yeah.
And I remember being sort of stuck. I was on holiday in Italy with a friend, as a teenager, and I had to stay on for, I think, 4 or 5 days, and she went home, and I was just stuck in this tiny room. And this is before the days of smartphones or the internet.
Yeah.
And so in that, I think I remember sort of just being locked with my own thoughts and in some pain, only being able to go out at night to feed, to eat. I think I decided at that point, it's so easy, or certainly it was really easy for me to get so angry, and I felt lonely and hard done by, and why has it happened to me? And it's so unfair.
Yeah.
And then I just thought, well, I can't change it, I just
exactly.
can't. So you just have to sort of steel yourself, and I guess try and reframe thoughts about,
exactly. Yeah, I love that. I mean, I love that attitude, because you're right. Some of the work I do with family constellations, you may have heard me say that this lovely saying, it's not what happens to you, it's what you make it mean, and whether it's a trauma, a one-off experience, a traumatic experience, or whether it's something debilitating, as you have. We can't change it. We can't change what has happened. We can only look at what we've made it mean. And, you're absolutely right. You could have taken that kind of attitude of poor me and isn't everything terrible and literally gone down. Or you could do exactly what you've done, which is be incredibly resilient and create something wonderful out of the out of out of what's happened to you, which is amazing, really. So tell us when you first sort of have the idea for the brand then, because obviously, we'll explain what This Is Silk is, and you can just sort of explain how you came about, because I'm guessing you were kind of looking for things that would help support your skin.
Yeah, so there were 2 suspected causes of this, and I was really lucky, and again, something I'm so grateful for. So I was put in front of the leading photodermatologist in Europe. She's an amazing woman, And she said, it happens very rarely, but effectively as a child, I had very, very, very bad eczema.
Right.
And very, very heavy steroids were used before they knew what damage they could do.
Interesting, right.
So there was a heavy suspicion that they kind of primed my skin or something like that. And then the trigger point came. So I had acne like a lot of teenagers, and I was prescribed a medicine, and went on holiday, and I got so badly burnt, and everyone was in shock. And that was the start of it. So I think a lot of medications, they can photosensitize, but it's temporary for most people, the vast majority of people. And so when I was burnt, because of the way that the skin reacts, you can't really put anything on it. You can't put creams on it. It's just got to heal. Certainly in that really acute period. And sleeping on cotton felt like sandpaper to my skin. It was honestly, it was just awful.
Right.
And I used to wear a silk scarf around my neck always to just keep it covered. And I one day just put it over my pillowcase, and it felt heavenly. I mean, it felt soothing. It was a relief. A physical relief. Also, it's pleasurable to lie, silk to be against skin. And it just felt like the right thing to do. And, as I've gotten older and I've had kids, and I think when you sort of get over, certainly for me, once I stepped out of my 20s and 30s, I think I became a bit more intuitive, because certainly for me, when I was young, my life was very social, very busy. And then when you have a family, you're a bit more inward looking. And I sometimes wonder when I look back and think, did my body just know what to do when I was in a state of heightened pain and stress and loneliness? Did it just know? Because I learnt much later on. So when I was pregnant with my eldest, the condition had been under control for years. I mean, what would that have been?
But you'd had it, but you'd been managing it effectively.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So,
right.
The odd sort of thing, I'd get burnt every now and then, but I'd always know what it was, So when I was pregnant with my eldest, it flared up and I kept burning and I didn't know why. And I was terrified because every now and then you read in the literature that because some people are allergic even to artificial light, again, super, super rare. But obviously, if that had happened to me, it would have been appalling. So I was terrified, and I went back to the dermatologist, and she said, try not to worry. The hormones can interfere with things. It'll settle back down.
Yeah.
And so I reached for the silk again. And I thought, what is it about the silk? And I spent time at the British Library. We were living in London at the time. And I basically realized when I started researching that silk had been used for wound healing and tissue repair for a very long time, in the medical world. And it just opened up this world. And I thought, wow, how did my body know what to do? I went back to the silk. But at that stage, I wanted a silk pillowcase, and that's how I started. It was with silk pillowcases.
Amazing. Yeah, amazing. And you see, I remember coming across silk pillowcases an awful lot of years ago, purely because someone had told me that it's really good for, again, for your skin and for your hair. And at the time, I can't remember the reason, but I just really wanted to keep my hair sort of not getting too sort of frizzy overnight. So I thought I'd try a silk pillowcase, and I just absolutely loved it. I completely loved it. So I absolutely love the stuff that you produce. But obviously there are going to be people listening who go, oh, hold on a minute. Isn't there an issue around silk and kind of sustainability and stuff? So tell me what you know about all of that.
Yeah, so there's, silk is a really, really sustainable material. It's, so the production of silk is called sericulture. And the process of sericulture is actually a carbon sink. And that's because mulberry trees, which is what the silkworms eat, in order to produce a silk. They provide a really rich habitat and they support a lot of biodiversity. So because you need a lot of mulberry trees, the process of producing silk removes more carbon from the atmosphere than making it does. So that, I think that's a very, very, very beautiful and natural thing. Silk's been made, I think was it last year or the year before, they found the earliest remnants of silk and managed to backdate the age of it to I think it was 8,500 BC, which I think is absolutely incredible, because I think it's a sign that humans have wanted to make and been drawn to something for that long, because it's quite a labor-intensive process. Silk is obviously not for vegans, it is an animal product.
Of course,
so
yeah.
I suppose it depends where you are on that spectrum. Do you wear leather, or do you want PVC? I know where I am on that.
Yes.
On that spectrum, obviously, but it's environmentally it's sustainable.
Okay, that's interesting. So this is silk. You make these beautiful pillowcases, and then just tell me about the other products, because obviously something that I'm absolutely passionate about is natural skincare, and I absolutely love facial oils. So I got very excited when I saw that you'd created that too.
Well, so it's a bit of a journey. In where were we? I think 2019 or so. So I was getting customers emailing in, especially people who just were new to silk. So the most common feedback we had was, "Wow, I wish I'd discovered it sooner." So I think probably like you, once you've slept on silk, I don't know anyone who goes back. And then we had customers saying, "Can you bottle it?" And I thought, that's a good question, actually. And so I wanted to work with a really good scientist, and so I found someone who's based in Sussex, and we did a lot of research, and I started to work with it well in advance of the launch, because some companies put a tiny bit of silk in for label appeal. And if anyone doesn't know what label appeal is, then it's where you put in tiny amounts of,
exactly, to make it look good. Well, it happens all the time in skincare. I spend my life talking about this, the fact that someone will buy a product that says organic shampoo, and then when you look at the the ingredients, yes, it may contain 0.1% of organic aloe vera and absolutely every other synthetic chemical you can think of. So yeah, I totally understand that.
exactly. And having done a lot of research into the medical and dermatological research at the British Library, we wanted to work with therapeutic levels of silk, and that's not easy to formulate, because silk is a film former. That's why it works very well. And so we started working with a scientist, also recently been working with a university, with a professor who specializes in cellular regeneration. And so I guess because of the issues that I've had with my skin, the sensorial aspect of skincare is really important to me. I want it to be a pleasure to use. Obviously, you can't do that with everything. Some things are just performance based. But I wanted it all. I wanted it to be a pleasure to use. I wanted it to, make a difference very quickly. And so it was the first launch, actually. It was the oil, our Radiance Renewed Silk Overnight Oil. And I was so nervous about the launch, because, I'm not from the skincare industry, but I think because I was a barrister for so long, if it's, you're quite skeptical, I think, by nature, once you've been dealing with criminals for a while. So anyway, just skirt over that. But, so everything had to be evidence-backed. I'm really obsessive about, the evidence behind things. It took a while, and we launched the oil, and I was so nervous. In fact, I put off the launch for a couple of months. And when we launched, it did really, really well, won loads of awards. So I was just really grateful, and also the best thing was, it's just nice to introduce this product, silk, to a lot of other people. It's just it's nice to bring people pleasure.
Yeah, because people might start by buying the facial oil and then move on to the silk pillowcases, I suppose. It works that way, doesn't it?
Yes, and a lot of people are buying them together. In fact, probably bundle them up at some stage. But yeah, so it started with the oil and the cream cleanser, and it's been fantastic. But the reason the products are popular and the reason they've won awards is just it's a silk. It's a really powerful material. I'd like to take credit, but actually I have to give all the credit to silk. So
and so we should say, if anyone who hasn't used facial oils before, I mean, what I really love about facial oils are that they kind of they work on that lipidic film of the skin. So they don't just kind of sit on your skin, they go within a bit, and only need a really tiny amount. So it's just a couple of drops really, isn't it? And you can use it overnight.
Exactly. And you get to, the nicer the oil, and ours, we use small amounts of essential oils, again, just to make it a more pleasurable experience. Because I think if something's nice to use, you're more likely to use it. The more you use it, the more effective it is. And with an oil, you really have to massage it in. And I love that so much.
Well, that's part of the process, isn't it? Giving yourself a little mini facial.
Yeah. And
you see, those of us who've ditched the booze, Sonal, once you ditch the booze, you have time to do that stuff. When you're drinking, you don't even take your makeup off. Trust me. Since I've actually stopped drinking, it's like, okay, maybe I can spend a few minutes actually caring for my skin.
And actually, I really do have an insight into that. I think that we are so. I don't know what the word for it is, Janey, but mindful isn't quite the same thing. But I sometimes think that there's quite a disconnect between our minds and our bodies.
Absolutely. Well, it's part of self-care, isn't it? We talk about self-care, many of us, but we kind of think of that as booking a spa day or going on holiday or whatever. But actually, it's the little things. It's spending those few minutes at night actually massaging your face or taking the time to appreciate your body. I mean, God, the amount of the abuse that so many of us have given our bodies. I know. But we expect them to take care of us, don't we, forever?
Yes.
Maybe not every now and then we need to put something back. So and it smells beautiful, your oil. We should say it's the kind of there's definitely some rose in there, isn't there? And jasmine. That's how it smells.
Yep. Yeah. And neroli, rose, jasmine, and neroli.
Yeah, lovely. Lovely.
And I really like it when, so obviously I use it and I use it every day and I massage in, and I have to say, it makes me sort of just a little bit grateful for my hands and, my face, because we do get caught up with insecurities. And I don't use this phrase lightly, but you're kind of touching yourself and you're touching your face, and it is just nice to reconnect with yourself. And I think, it does that too. So
absolutely. Yeah, no, I get that completely. So you've got the serum, the boost, you call it, and then the oil, and obviously the pillowcases. And what are the plans for the future for the brand?
Well, it's quite funny. So the reason we have a booster, which is a really potent silk material, is that I've been trying to develop a moisturizer for a couple of years, and I've just refused every submission, I think, because I'm so fussy, and I got so impatient waiting, but I wanted people to have silk in a moisturizer. So I thought, well, as a stopgap, let me put a very pure silk product together that people can just add a drop into their moisturizers. It was just a stopgap. And we've sent it, because the other products have won awards and this one hadn't. I sent it off for consumer testing. I have to say, even I was quite floored at the results. One tiny drop of a tiny bottle led to some amazing results. These the independent user trials that you get. And we just get people emailing in all the time saying, can you produce a bigger bottle? I need to introduce a subscription for it. People are just buying and buying, sending their friends. But for the future, reasonably soon. So I'm really interested in the healing aspect,
Yeah.
So silk peptides are especially amazing for mature skin, but at the heart is healing.
Yeah.
So we've had good feedback from people who have had sort of dry skin, inflamed skin, and the silk is really helping with that. So the next product to come out, we've combined silk peptides with colloidal silver or silver hydrosol.
Wow. Tell us a bit about colloidal silver for people who are not aware of what colloidal silver is.
So silver goes, I mean, the reason I love it, again, it's because it's an ancient material that is really backed by a lot of scientific research. So again, a healing material. If I had to say there's one thing about it, it's antibacterial, and it improves skin condition. It's clarifying, it's healing. It's just such a perfect skincare ingredient as well.
I haven't actually seen it in much skincare. I've got the sort of liquid which you can take internally, but I haven't actually seen it in much skincare. So that's really unique.
Yeah, and it feels very nice, and looking forward to bringing that out. I think it will do really well, actually, Jane, especially for people who've got a compromised barrier, because this one, in order to reach the people who really struggle with inflamed skin, this one is going to be fragrance free, or certainly the first version of it is. So yeah, we're developing a shampoo and a conditioner, because I think silk in skincare might be quite new to people in the Western world. It's been used in the East for a while. But silk in shampoo and conditioner in hair products really does make hair quite silky. So that's quite exciting. And yeah, just, I suppose, really enjoying it, just the part of the reason I love silk, and I'm so grateful to it, and I love it for so many different reasons, but a big part of it is also the fact that it's got so much history and culture around it. The Silk Roads are really fascinating. And
again, I don't know much about it really. Have you done a fair bit of research on that then?
Yes, and I love the history and the reading, but I'm again, it's testament to the power of silk and the hold it's had over people's lives. So silk was once so coveted and so precious and so rare and so expensive, that the ancient Chinese civilization said anyone who reveals the secret of how we make silk will do so on pain of death.
Oh, wow.
I know. And, for a very long time, only royals and aristocrats were allowed to wear it.
Yeah. It's interesting. A really good friend of mine was given this absolutely beautiful silk kimono by her husband, one of her husband's relatives, who was quite wealthy, I think. And she decided to wear it because she can rock really unusual outfits. And she decided to wear it to an event. And someone came up to her at the event, and she said that she was a very wealthy Chinese lady, and she came up to her and she said, I don't know if you realize, but the kimono that you're wearing is incredibly rare and really valuable. Wow. It's over 100 years old. Wow. And she said the skill to embroider like that has been completely lost. So isn't that fascinating? She probably best not wear it out quite so much.
No, but
after it.
No, I mean, this is the thing I think about silk. So I work with it every day. It's around here. We've got young children. They're being spoilt by silk because silk to them is quite normal.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
But not with the embroidery, obviously. That's a different bit, isn't it?
No, the embroidery, and you do. In fact, it's still prized. In China and Japan, they still really revere it.
Yeah.
But what's interesting to me is that even though I work with it every day, I'm still amazed at how beautiful it is. And I think people recognize that, so, I'm sure where your friend wore the kimono, I mean, they're showstoppers, aren't they? These kimonos, especially because they're very lustrous when they have the embroidery on it. It really catches the light.
Yeah, totally. So just back on you and your sort of, the stuff that's going on for you then, what would you say is it that kind of helps keep you really, helps keep you feeling grateful, I suppose? I mean, is it gratitude that if you are having a bit of a funk or feeling a bit sorry for yourself, we all have those days, right? But for you, you've got a bit extra going on, of course, and if you do feel like that, what is it that helps remind you to be grateful? What do you focus on? I mean, is it getting out into nature? I suppose nature's difficult for you sometimes, but what works for you to bring you back to that place of balance?
I think probably if I had to point to one thing, I mean, there are a few things, right? We've all got a toolkit, haven't we? So, exercise is key. I'm not I'm not an avid exerciser by any stretch of the imagination, but I do recognize that lifting weights and going out for a walk, and I can lead a relatively normal life. I just need to apply. That really helps. It just switches my mood up. But I think the main thing for me, Janey, is just, I think we lose sight of, especially at the moment. So, like a lot of people, I read the news, and then I read the news and I think, oh, I wonder why I'm feeling so bad.
Yeah, exactly. Doom scrolling is what we're all doing, isn't it? For God's sake. You're quite right. I have to stop myself. I really do. You catch yourself, what the hell have I actually just been doing? I've been getting caught up in this utter misery, much of which probably won't happen. So why give it my energy?
Exactly. I totally agree with that. But I think the main thing is just to be aware that for me anyway, that it's like, oh, what if what a pointless waste of precious life, to do that. So the thing for me at all times is to maintain a sense of wonder. So I just honestly think that we are surrounded by wonder, but we just need to remember to see it. I sound a bit simple, I think, but I was at the university in, dealing with this really eminent professor, and my scientist was there. So, really educated, serious scientific people who have, made material contributions to the world around them. And we were talking about the results of silk fibroin on, I'm not going to get too technical, but keratinocytes and fibroblast cells, skin cells. And I was watching this video of how the silk peptides perform, and the performance was stunning. They outperform the leading synthetic peptide that is on the market at the moment. But the thing that I saw was just a microscopic sort of wriggling of cells, forming these, the healing process, basically the collagen. Because that's what it does, right? And I just remember thinking, I was just so in awe of the world and the natural, I get proper, is it Carl Sagan who talked about the blue dot? It's that sense of,
I'm not sure if it is, but I know what you mean. Yeah. Interesting.
Just like the sense of wonder. And I just think, we've just started to try and grow vegetables. And I'm just honestly in complete awe at the fact that you can plant a seed and it turns into this. And I just, and I look at the children and kids are random at the best of times. I look, we drove, because we moved out of London in 2019. So I'm in London a fair bit for work, and drove back last night, and you see the stars, and I'm just in awe of the stars. So I think for me, sort of just trying to be more aware of the miracle of life. And again, I know it sounds really simple, but this wonder that is all around us. I think helps to remind me of my own insignificance, and therefore, helps me to put things in perspective. And I really love that. And I guess again, and this I guess it might sound a bit old-fashioned, but having spent so long as a criminal barrister and seeing what happens when people let things get the better of them, circumstance, emotions. For me, it's very important to keep a perspective of feelings are not facts, and I'm very well aware that this is a very old-fashioned, I'm losing fashionability very swiftly here, I'm sure of it. But, I've seen firsthand what happens when people, are too overwhelmed with ephemeral feelings. So, I think those two things probably help me.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, you're right. That word awe, AWE, it's a little bit underestimated. Actually, we can kind of focus on bringing in more awe and wonder, can't we? Because, years ago when I was boozing all the time and all I could think of was, self-care, give me a glass of wine. All I could think of to look forward to was a glass of wine. It's so pathetic now I think of it. Now I'm able to look at little things and appreciate little things and actually bring in that awe and wonder for, as you say, whether it's the stars in the sky or whatever. And it's that gratitude that makes all the difference. That's the mindfulness approach, isn't it? It's amazing. really is
I wish
amazing.
I'd known it sooner, actually.
Yeah, tell me about it. Yeah. Just one last question. Just so with your I'm just really interested in your with the condition that you have. So you have to use sunscreen all the time. I mean, that must be tricky because that's going to be chock full of chemicals. So how do you work around
I hate
that?
it. I hate it.
Yeah.
I have to say, even after all these years, Janey, I don't like the feeling of sun cream on my face. I
Right.
really, you'd think I'd be used to it by
Have
now.
you found a more natural one that works?
No, that's
Isn't
my
that
one compromise.
interesting?
I'm really anti-chemicals, we avoid them. I really loathe the fact that, it is legislated, so you cannot buy soft furnishings unless they've been treated with very heavy fire retardant.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
We used to have a parrot, and we were told, no longer sadly, and we were told that if you use a non-stick frying pan I can't remember within how many meters, then your parrot could die. And I thought, what? So I looked up the Teflon chemicals, and everything just went straight in the bin as soon as I became aware we don't need these chemicals. Plastic bottles, it leaches into the water that we drink. I'm not anti-synthetic chemicals completely, but I just think we can all cut down on them.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
But that's a one compromise I cannot. It's probably why I'm a bit militant about other stuff. I mean, the children, they're even school uniforms.
Oh, I know. They've all got plastic coating. I know, it's incredible.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
well, we're definitely sing from the same hymn sheet. So no, that's why my website is called Imperfectly Natural, because none of us can get everything right. We have to just do the bits we can, right? But
exactly.
anyways, well, it's really fascinating to hear your story. Really fascinating, and I love your resilience, and it's great the way you've been able to reframe everything. It's really inspirational. And thank you for your absolutely gorgeous brand. So just tell us where people can find the products.
So all our silk products are available at www.thisissilk.com. We ship worldwide, and that's where we are.
Great, thank you. And I'll put that link in the show notes as well. Sonal, it's fantastic to talk to you. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time.
Janey, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
So thank you, Sonal. We'll put those links in the show notes. A reminder of those events that I mentioned to you last week. So if you'd like to come to the live podcast recording, it's going to be the 250th episode, no less, of this podcast. It's Tuesday, August the 15th in the evening at Club Soda, which is in London. And my special guests are William Porter, Claire Pooley and Laura Willoughby. How cool is that going to be? They were my very first guests when the podcast started, and they're going to be rocking up to connect with you and meet with you. And I'm really looking forward to this event, but tickets are going to sell out fast. So please go to thesoberclub.com/events. So thesoberclub.com and click on events, and you'll see it there. And then next to it, Sober by the Sea, which is on Saturday, the 19th of August. Very tiny group. Doesn't matter what stage you're at. Doesn't matter if you're sober curious or if you've been sober for many years. We focus on what you want for the future. So the price includes a lovely healthy lunch. It includes all the materials you need to create a vision board. It includes a one-to-one coaching as well. So it's a really special day if you're able to make it there. So thesoberclub.com, click on events. All of this will be in the show notes as well. We will be having another Sober Coach training in October. We had a fantastic one last weekend, just if that's something that's rolling around your mind, if you've been sober for a while. So just get in touch with me if that's of interest. And we will do another Family Constellations, just trying to sort the right date. We've got a lot of commitments over the summer, but we will be sorting something out for another Family Constellations. I know that's something that lots of people are interested in. And a retreat. I am planning a retreat. I promise you, it's just taking a little longer than I had hoped in terms of finding exactly the right venue. But if that's something that interests you, a retreat in the UK, then do please message me. Whatever you do, stay connected. Whatever stage you're at, stay connected. Share those thoughts. Join us in the Sober Club. It's just, there's so much inspiration there, so much support. It's non-judgmental. It's really amazing to feel as though you're held. And I that's what I absolutely love to do. I love to hold that vision for you, and I promise you I will. It's super important to me. If you don't want to join the Sober Club, that's fine too. Just drop me a message if you want to tell someone that you're doing this. It's really good to be connected. It really does make all of the difference in the world. So check out the show notes, check out thesoberclub.com, click on events if you're in the UK, and I look forward to meeting some of you soon. And whatever's going on, please just enjoy being sober. If you're early stages, give yourself a big hug. This is the best thing you will ever do. Thank you for listening to the Alcohol Free Life podcast, brought to you by the Sober Club. Please rate and review. And if you want support, accountability and inspiration, and you want to live your best life without the booze, check out thesoberclub.com.